So now that we talked about how points and equations are related, we can talk about some more strategic ways to figure out where some of the key features of these quadratic equations are. For example, let's start with the vertex. And let's start with vertex form. So when I say vertex form, I mean something like this. Y equals x minus 5 squared plus 9. Vertex form has this really nice property where if we choose an x value so that this argument, this part of the parentheses, this expression right here, where this equals 0, whatever y that ends up equaling, whatever y we end up getting is going to correspond to the vertex. So, for example, in this equation, if I choose x to be 5, and we're going to figure out what y goes with that, I'm going to end up with 5 minus 5. And that's going to equal 0. 0 squared plus 9 is 0 plus 9, which ends up being 9. So that works out because we chose an x so that this argument here, this expression here equals 0. The reason that works out is because if we had chosen a number that's greater than 5, we would have ended up with a larger number. So we would have ended up with 1 or 2 or something like that. And we would have gotten a bigger number than 9, right? So we would have gotten like 11 or 13 or something like that. If we chose a number that was less than 5, we would have gotten a negative number. And then when we squared it, it would have become a positive number again. So a positive and then plus 9, we would have gotten a larger number than 9 again. So whether you make it bigger than 5 or less than 5, you end up getting y values that are greater than 9. So that kind of correlates to why, on a vertex, or excuse me, on a parabola, you've got this sort of lowest point, and then either side that you go, you end up higher than the vertex. And that's kind of what's happening here, right? So 5 is the lowest, it gives us the lowest answer for y, and then either way that we go, we end up with higher numbers. So that's why we choose numbers, we choose an x so that we get 0. Just one more quick example before we go. This applies also even if your parabola is concave down. So something like x plus 7 plus 1. Again, we want to choose an x so that this part of the expression is 0. So we would choose negative 7 for x. And that's going to give us 0 here. 0 squared is just 0. 0 times negative 2. I'm following the order of operations here. PEMDAS here gives us 0 plus 1. 0 plus 1 is just 1. So we get that y, right, y equals 1. What ends up happening, and what I hope that you recognize, is that this y value here is the same as this value here. Okay, and that ends up being the shortcut to finding the vertex. So your x is the value that makes this expression, this part of the expression, equal to 0, and your y ends up being this constant that's, in this case, both of them are added, but if this had been subtracted, it would have been negative over here. Your y value of your vertex ends up being this part here. And that's the short way to find the vertex from vertex form.